Welcome back to the Saturday Scholars College Football Podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That is Gonzo. I am Shub, and today we are here to do Week 10 recap. Let's go. Boys, it was a hell of a week in the world of college football. So many great games last weekend. I was eating it up. We were all eating it up. We were all jumping for joy. We were all so drowning in our sorrows. It was that kind of weekend. Gonzo, our resident LSU fan, it's been 24 hours now, so I had a little bit of time to alleviate the pain here, move on, get ready for the pod. How you feeling?
Could be better, but, I always try to be rational in my fandom. I always thought 9-3 wouldn't have been the worst this year, but as for the game, Nick Saban is the greatest coach ever. You give him even one more day to prepare, he'll come out ready. And, I was wrong about Jalen Milroe. Congrats to you, young man. LSU chose not to spy him at all for whatever reason. They never spied him, and he runs for 4 touchdowns. And, I was proud of LSU. This was a game, but unfortunately it was similar to the FSU game. You start the fourth quarter with a really bad pick, not Jaden Daniels' fault. Bama scores, Jaden gets hurt, and that was wraps. So real tough loss. I was very confident. Maybe I shouldn't have been. I swear I can't this series right. I picked Bama last year. I picked LSU this year. I swear. But still proud of the Tigers. The big takeaway for me is Matt House will not be with Louisiana State University next year. There's just no way him or any of his defensive associates will be with this team. Brian Kelly will get it right. A lot of people melted. This man's in year 2. Literally, this was a 5-5 team 3 years ago. You won the West out of nowhere. So this loss sucks. But at the same time, it was a game for, 75% of the game. And at the end of the day, LSU had to score on every single drive, and you just can't ask any offense to do that, and shouldn't have to ask any offense to do that. So my final word is, tip of the cap to Bama. The West is most likely theirs, and LSU will just try to finish out November strong.
I hate that. My Bama under 10.5 is likely now crushed.
All of ours.
But, yeah. Who would have thought, man? Because none of us thought Milroe would just get better as the season goes along.
No.
Not at least like this. I think we all kind of thought he had some kind of ceiling, right? But he's getting better, and and it's evidenced by how he played against LSU. So Bama, it's going to be really interesting. I didn't put this in our pre-agendas or anything, but I think we should put aside a little bit of time later to discuss maybe some different occasions or situations that could play out for this playoff. Because what if Bama beats Georgia? Georgia's 1 loss, Bama's 1 loss. Say Texas wins the Big 12. You got maybe 1 loss Washington, 1 loss Oregon. How does this all work out? So it'll be really interesting. And then you have Ohio State, Michigan to consider too. One of them will be 1 loss probably. So really interesting question. But do you have any other thoughts about the game before moving on, Shub?
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch it live. I was able to catch the highlights, the extended highlights. And yeah, it was a phenomenal game. I thought LSU, it kind of reminded me of the FSU game. And it hurts me to say this, but I feel like I low-key kind of predicted this. This game kind of went how I sort of expected it to go. If there's anything that I could say, Gonzo, and all your sorrows, I profited it. I'm sorry. I at least profited off this game. I was able to take advantage. Yeah, I was able to take advantage of some props on DK. I got boosted first quarter over 13.5 points because I thought there'd be some points right out the gate. Won some money on that, and then I bet the second half under 31.5 points, which was also boosted. And I kind of figured, Alabama in the second half, Alabama in the second half is like a juggernaut. Alabama in the first half is, mid-Bama. But Alabama in the second half is like that 2020 Alabama team, or those, that 2011 Alabama team that had the elite defense, 2012. I don't know what it is, man, but Bama just shuts teams down in the second half. Like we were talking about offline, the fact that LSU was able to get the touchdown right at the end of the first half and then come out, get the ball at the beginning of the second half and score the touchdown. Like, you get that 2-for-1 opportunity in those types of games. that's huge. Like LSU hit that perfectly, and it still just didn't work out for them. I thought quarterback play, obviously Jalen Milroe, man, it was can't say enough about his ground attack, man. That dude can run. LSU, like you were saying, Gonzo, they couldn't stop him. But I will say this. We're going to talk about the Heisman later, but like I thought Jaden Daniels absolutely balled out in this game. And I know he got hurt right at the end of the game, but like Alabama's like the number 3 defense in the country. Like Jalen Milroe went up against a pretty poor defense. So it's not unexpected to see him have success. But Jaden Daniels like balled out against one of the best defenses in the country, man. Like, I'm sorry, Washington fans.
Jaden Daniels is going to go in the first round. He's a very good player.
I'm sorry, Washington fans, man, but like you just can't hold Jaden Daniels' defense against him. You just can't. Like he is, to me, he is playing like the best player in the country right now. But that's just my humble opinion. But guys, Alabama, next 3 games at Kentucky, Chattanooga, and then at Auburn in the Iron Bowl. This thing's wrapped up, boys.
Auburn's the only threat, but they're probably going to win up. Yep.
Kentucky?
Ain't gonna
Maybe
win.
no.
Lose.
No.
Kentucky's offense isn't good enough. Come on now. Gets Alabama's D.
Chattanooga? Mox?
Maybe.
Maybe Chat covers, but I doubt it. And then Auburn, I mean at this time, they don't have the horses. But man, that would be hilarious.
They don't, but I think Auburn could put up somewhat of a fight just like they did against Georgia. In fact, I kind of expect that.
That's
it's
fair.
The Iron Bowl, but Alabama will still win. But it's not like one of those teams that can actually beat Alabama. But yeah, so guys, like we were saying, man, our unders on Alabama, they're all cooked. It's unfortunate. At the beginning of the year, this looked like a team that was destined for another 2 or 3 losses, but they were wrong, man. You got to credit Nick Saban.
But yeah, like you said, you credit Saban. We make these assumptions and predictions at the beginning of the year. You know, I mean, for goodness sakes, we thought they'd be rotating quarterbacks, and we didn't think Milroe would be used this effective. And I mean, yeah, even though there's a little bit of a crumbling, the dynasty is still standing. And I guess they're right. I mean, never doubt Alabama, and I'll eat that crow. I mean,
we can see the cracks in the pillars of the dynasty, but the thing is, the structure is still there. It's still holding strong, and so credit to Nick Saban. I mean, they might be in the playoffs now. All you got to do is win the SEC championship, and they're in the playoffs.
And really honestly, quick. This is that. Yeah, Shoop. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd say this seems like the kind of Nick Saban team that wins it all, because sometimes it's these Bama teams that look like the limping dog that has like a Jacob Coker at quarterback that goes and wins the whole dang title and beats Georgia in the SEC championship and crazy stuff like that. I mean,
you know what's funny is that outside of losing to Texas, of course, the one team that gave them the most run for their money was USF.
Dang.
You remember that? Like, remember that USF game? Like, I'm never gonna.
Yeah, but that's when we were thinking, like, man, this under is a lock. When USF was giving it to them.
Like, think about that USF game against that Bama had. Like, that was like that might have been like one of the lowest points I feel like of like we've had discussions about for any Nick Saban team pre 2008. Like that was like, holy crap, this might be the end.
Yeah,
like, that's what we were talking about. But yeah, really quick though. 3 teams head to head against Alabama right now, here and today on a neutral field. Alabama versus Georgia. Who you picking?
Georgia.
I say Georgia as well.
Alabama
very slim. Versus Michigan.
Alabama.
Against Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
I'm with Zan. Bama.
I'm gonna go Michigan.
I don't think Michigan will be able to score.
I'm gonna go with Michigan actually. Last one. Alabama versus Oregon today, right here, right now.
Ooh, that would be a great game. Oregon. I'll go with Oregon.
Oregon, and to give a reason, better quarterback.
I'm gonna go with Oregon as well. I think
Oregon is like legit this year. I think they can legitimately win it this year.
Oregon right now might be the best team in the country. I guess we got to wait to see. We'll find out a lot of answers when Michigan plays Penn State this week. But for now, I'm looking at Oregon like this might legitimately be the best team like right now. But they got that one loss versus Washington hanging over their heads, so they got a tighter rope to walk. All right, Let's head out to the Pac-12. Speaking of, how about Washington and USC? This one was a shootout. We expected points. We got points, boys. This one was entertaining. Again, I wasn't able to watch this. I don't know if you guys were able to watch it live. I got to see the highlights, of course, but it was pretty much like all we could ask for. It seemed like a very entertaining game. 52-42 was the final. USC also made the move to fire Alex Grinch after this game. Actually, that was breaking news today. It's Sunday when we record. So a lot of storylines with this one. Lots to unpack here. What are you guys' thoughts?
It's about damn time they fired Alex Grinch. I mean, my goodness, it's the Achilles heel. Look, you waited too long to fire Alex Grinch. Now you've taken a loss. You're not going to the playoffs. You're not going to the Pac-12 championship. You've wasted Caleb Williams. You've made the move too late. You just have to hope that Malachi Nelson ends up being another generational talent, which probably not. He'll probably still be good, but he's probably not going to be like Caleb Williams good. So you wasted it. Completely wasted your window. And lucky for them, they're going to go play in the Big Ten next year. But the Big Ten is going to get a little bit better, taking some of the top teams in the Pac-12. And then, but I mean, at least half their schedule will be easy.
I wouldn't blame Caleb. I wouldn't blame Caleb Williams if he opted out. I mean, seriously, like, you know, he needs to drop the whole "I want to own part of the team" act. But if he wants to preserve some stock, he's proven it. I mean, he's got nothing more to prove. I mean, I think he might probably will still play though. He's a competitor, but I wouldn't blame him one bit. I mean, you should not lose after scoring 42 in a conference game. I mean, that's just unacceptable. So good for Lincoln Riley finally making that tough decision. It's not really tough, but anytime you got to fire a friend, that's hard. That's why you should never work with friends or family. But spinning it, Washington, this is great. You get Penix back in the Heisman conversation. This is a good win. You really get a chokehold on the conference now. So they just need to keep on cruising. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering right, they've already gotten the Arizona bugs out of their way. So that slip-up's not waiting on the schedule.
That win is looking like a good win now. Remember at the time we were like, Washington struggled versus Arizona. What the heck?
Mm-hmm. No, Arizona's actually pretty solid.
That's a good win on the resume now. But anyhow, yeah, Alex Grinch has been with Lincoln Riley since 2019. So he's been under Lincoln Riley's wing for 5 years now. So that definitely must have not been hard to, or it must have been hard to do for Lincoln Riley for personal reasons, I'm sure. But this was long overdue. Alex
Grinch was gifted almost $10 million in that span for incompetent defense. So I mean, his leash is. I will gladly go out there, coordinate the defense, and allow 50 points a game if you pay me $1.8 million a year. I will gladly go do it.
So here's a fun question. Alex Grinch's USC defense goes up against Brian Ferentz's Iowa offense. How many points is scored?
Iowa's offense is pretty bad, man. Maybe Iowa gets 2 touchdowns. Maybe.
I mean, 2 touchdowns for Iowa is that's pretty good output from them.
I think Iowa would score anywhere between 13 to 17, I think.
I'm thinking 17 and 21 being the max. I'm about in the same.
That's an indictment on Alex Grinch, man, because that's if you allow Iowa to score 21 offensive points versus you, that means your defense is sucks. That's all I'm saying. Iowa's offense is so bad. If you can't defend that crap, you are a terrible DC, or you just have a terrible defense with bad players. But thought that was a fun little question there. Both of them are going to be unemployed at the end of this year. We'll get to the latter end of that topic later on in the pod here. A lot to discuss with Iowa, which I'm looking forward to talking about.
Always fun to talk about.
All right, but sticking here really quick with the Pac-12, let's give Washington some love here, guys. We said we put out a video actually the other week. Go ahead and watch it if you're a Washington fan. If you haven't watched it, Washington, we're questioning them hey, is this team out of gas? Well, clearly they weren't. You held a Caleb Williams-led USC offense to 42 points, which actually is pretty good in my opinion, especially considering some of those plays that Caleb Williams made, like that one play where Dufili, or what, I can't forget the Washington's their best defensive lineman. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he had that one play where he broke through a double team, almost had Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams spins out of it somehow and just chucks it downfield in the corner of the end zone, and then for the touchdown. And I'm like, that's just you can't defend that. I don't care how good
that's
of a
Caleb
defense
Williams. That's why he's so dang good.
I don't care how good of a defense you are. Like Alabama's defense, Ohio State's defense could not have defended that. Like you just can't. And I'm like, okay, that's like a one touchdown that like Washington, you just throw your hands up and you're like, what do you do? I saw Kalen DeBoer on the sideline. He's just like, yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. Like that's just tip of the cap. But I thought
And
Washington had a great performance.
Dude, despite how good Caleb Williams is, like just like you mentioned, they still lost by 2 scores. That's how bad the defense is.
Yeah. And honestly, Washington didn't really, the passing game wasn't as prolific as I thought it was going to be.
No, it was Dylan Johnson. It was the Dylan Johnson show.
And Dylan Johnson, it wasn't even the starter going into this year. Remember, Washington lost their starter out for the season, and then Dylan Johnson is essentially the backup. I mean, career day for him, 4 tutties, man.
200 plus rushing yards. Yeah.
He absolutely feasted. Good day for him. And guys,
handled his inner Ollie Gordon.
He did. He definitely did. And just like that, Washington is 9-0, boys. Like, this is the dream season for Washington, man. They already got the Oregon win. Right now, that Oregon win might be like one of the best wins in the whole country right now because Oregon is looking like
the best win in the country right now.
Oregon probably is playing right now like the number 1 team in the country. You could make that argument. Washington has that win over them. Like, this is the season that like their fans could hope and dream for, man. And I think off the top of my head, they still got to play Oregon State, and then they still got to play Wazoo. And then I think who's their final game? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Well, Wazoo's the Apple Cup for sure.
Right.
And Wazoo looks terrible.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened to them. That's that's insane.
I'm gonna hit the under on them, and it didn't seem like it was gonna. It didn't seem like it was gonna come to fruition early.
We'll get to them in a second. Sorry. So they play Utah this week. I completely forgot. Washington hosts Utah in Seattle this week. That's gonna be tough.
So they're fine.
we're picking that one, of course. But they got they have Utah at Oregon State, and then Wazoo at home in the Apple Cup.
Oh, Corvallis is trappy, man.
Oof, man, that's
Corvallis
I don't know,
very
man.
Trappy.
I'm gonna say 11-1. I think they're gonna lose one of the next 2, but that's not necessarily the end of the world. Like they can still win the Pac-12, get to the playoff, even if they drop one of the next 2. It won't be the end of the world.
Pac-12 champion is going to be in as long as it's Washington. Well, one lost Washington or Oregon.
Yeah, but credit to the Huskies, man. Credit to Kalen DeBoer. This was a huge win for them. Huge win for them. Especially after how they played against inferior competition the last 2 weeks. Exactly what you needed to see if you're a Huskies fan. So moving on here, let's dive into the Big 12. Man, Zan, I know you and I need to talk about this, man. We got a lot of gloating to do. We were happy campers this weekend. Bedlam. Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State, the final scheduled Bedlam in the series up to this point. We'll see if they play each other later on in a bowl game, perhaps. Oklahoma State wins 27-24. It was your classic Bedlam game. It had a lot of controversy. It was some of a high-scoring game. Honestly, not really that much of a high-scoring game, but it was back and forth. You had about everything you wanted. It was competitive, and Oklahoma State wins. Oklahoma State wins the final Bedlam. They avenge just years of just Bedlam heartbreak and pain. Oklahoma State fans know that very well. It was like puncturing a blood blister that's been there for years now, and it's like just alleviating years of pain and torture, just letting it go free. And now Oklahoma State gets to hang that over Oklahoma's head for the foreseeable future. They won the last Bedlam. Oklahoma State won the last 2 of 3. And yeah, it was a good day in Stillwater for those folks. What do you got to say about it, Zan?
It's a great day, man. They tore down the goalpost and they took it to Theta Pond, which is like this beautiful pond area between like the Greek area and the actual campus, and they chunked it up in there. So yeah, what a memory. Great stuff, man. I just wish I could have went. Damn you, scalpers. I hate all of you. But anyways, Ollie Gordon said it best after the game. There's only one Oklahoma and it ends with state. Ollie Gordon, man, he is him, and I don't care what these OU fans say, you're leaving with an L. Hey, there's so many things, man. A lot of OU fans were trying to come at the players. They came at one of our linemen who got hurt in the first half, and they said, "Oh, what are you celebrating about? You left in the first half." And he said, "You left with the L." So yeah, no, it's good, man. Like, as an Oklahoma State fan, you know the frustration behind this series, the frustration behind always So many amazing seasons of potential Big 12 championship seasons being cut short because they lost this game. I mean, it's what OU owes a lot of their Big 12 championships to, beating Oklahoma State when they were in the running and eliminating them. So it feels good to win this and position ourselves well for making it to Arlington to play Texas. But it also feels good to know that we eliminated OU from the playoffs.
That's what rivalries are about right there, man. So, of course, for Oklahoma, I mean, this is a heartbreaking loss for them. And let's be real here. I think Oklahoma was, you could argue they were the better team in this game. I mean, yards per play, they had a huge margin, Oklahoma State. The thing is, Oklahoma shot themselves in the foot in this game multiple times. They had a 3-1 turnover margin going against them, and those turnovers just really, really were huge. I mean, Oklahoma gifted Oklahoma State at least 3 points off of a turnover. Dylan Gabriel had a snap go off of his shin. Nobody could pick it up. He had an inexplicable bad pass that basically just chucked it up in the double coverage. I don't know what he was doing there. But yeah, Oklahoma just really shot themselves in the foot. I honestly thought their play calling, especially in the second half, was not the greatest. And it's a game that if you replay it right now and OU just doesn't turn the ball over, they could definitely win this game if it was replayed right now. But point is, it got played, and Oklahoma, like, this is an Oklahoma State performance. What Oklahoma State's used to having happen to them in this game is being the team that shoots themselves in the foot and turns the ball over and maybe has the better team but still finds a way to lose. That's been the Oklahoma State side of Bedlam. But that finally got reversed on its head.
Yeah, and there's always officiating calls that seems to go against Oklahoma State, that always in the most costly way. But in this one, it flipped on its head again also. So I'm happy for it. At the end of the day,
pass interference in the end zone there at the end was egregious.
Yeah, it was.
We're Oklahoma State guys. Like that was the most egregious pass interference.
Yeah. Now the one that OU fans complained about from 2 years ago, I don't think that was a PI, but this one was a PI.
Oh, it absolutely was.
All I'll say is, I wonder if OU felt like they arrived after beating Texas, because they have not played well. And that doesn't take away. This was a heck of a win for the Cowboys, but they have not played well since that win. I mean, UCF should have beat them. KU beats them for the first time in 20 years. Y'all walk off the Bedlam series in the sense of y'all close it out, beating them. Man, like, I think them beating Texas was one of the best things that could have happened in regards to the game with y'all, because clearly they thought they were on a level that they are nowhere near at this point in time.
I'm not trying to beat Oklahoma while they're down, but after the Texas game, like, I was one of the first people to come out here and say, I said it on this podcast, I was like, yeah, if you were to replay this game on a neutral field right now, I'd probably favor Texas, or I said I would easily see Texas winning a rematch right there and then. Like, I didn't think OU was definitively any better than Texas. In fact, OU had turnovers go in their favor in that Red River game, and then Bedlam they didn't. So it goes both ways. Post-game win expectancy had OU winning this game 64% of the time. So, Oklahoma was pretty unlucky, a little bit unlucky to win this game, or not win this game, I should say. But, that's turnovers right there. And you shoot yourself in the foot, you're going to lose football games. And Oklahoma State just did a tremendous job of staying within themselves. And they just played really well. Alan Bowman, like, I think if you're an Oklahoma State fan, I think Alan Bowman played really well. He didn't make any mistakes. Like, you're not expecting him to do a whole lot. It's not like he's an amazing quarterback. Alan Bowman is a Jag. Alan Bowman is the definition of a Jag. But when your Jag does exactly what he's supposed to do within the system, you can win these games. And that's what he did.
Alan Bowman's just a game manager, man. Like, he does enough to, like, at least move the ball a little bit. He's not going to flash. He's not going to, score 30 touchdowns, but he's not going to turn the ball over. That's why we love him.
Exactly.
So let me ask you all this. On the road versus, honestly, you're playing the rest of the newcomers to end it. You play UCF and Houston on the road. Then you end with senior day against BYU. Do the Pokes win out and clinch that spot in Arlington?
Probably not. I think they lose to UCF, honestly. But luckily, because they have the tiebreaker on Kansas State and OU, they can afford a loss so long as Iowa State loses one more time, and I think they will.
And they will. They will.
Yeah. So they have the tiebreaker on OU, Kansas State, and West Virginia. That's a whole log jam right now underneath them in the standings.
Iowa State's got to play Texas and Kansas State. Yeah, there's a loss in there.
The only way that Oklahoma State doesn't make it to the Big 12 championship is if they go 1-2 in the next 3, basically.
I think they're going to drop one of the next 3, and I'm not, and that's me being kind of pessimistic, but like I think there's just no way they're not going to have a letdown performance after
the UCF one is the biggest threat. Yeah, because it's right after Bedlam, and UCF is kind of better than their record shows. They're kind of putting it together right now, so we'll see.
And they're hungry for that first legitimate Big 12 win. UCF didn't get a real Big 12 win because they got their AAC win. They're still. And
you know what's crazy? Actually, if you looked at the stats, Shub, from the Cincy UCF game, Cincy completely actually outplayed UCF, but turnover margin favored UCF, so UCF won.
Yeah, it's not a legitimate conference win in my eyes. UCF, sorry.
I think you got to beat a legacy member. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie. I am very worried about Oklahoma State dropping one to them next week. I legitimately like to think they might actually drop it, or they might drop one to Houston. Like they will have a letdown. I think it is like guaranteed they will not play well and might actually lose, but they can afford that because of the Iowa State schedule, which is what we talked about. But we'll talk. Let's really quick. Yeah, I want to say we're talking Big 12 picture here. We got to talk about the other Big 12 semifinal game. That was Texas versus Kansas State. Now I got eyes on this one. This one was like insane. I don't know how do I want to attack this. Texas versus Kansas State. It went 33-30 final in overtime. Did you guys watch this one live, Zan? I know you didn't. Gonzo, did you get to watch
Didn't
this
watch
one?
It live.
I caught the last 2 plays of overtime live, and I was proud of K-State for actually going for it. But I was not proud of the play calls per se, but I was proud of them saying, we're going to put it all on the line and actually try to walk this thing off.
I'm normally the go for it guy. I actually think K-State should have kicked the field goal there in overtime because, listen, the way that this game played out, Texas absolutely dominated this game in the first half. Like it was 27-7 at one point in the first half. Like this game was over. I turned it off. The Texas was absolutely dominating Kansas State on the lines of scrimmage. Texas defensive line, like Montez Sweat, those guys, like insane. Kansas State is known for having a good offensive line. Kansas State is Cooper Beebe at left guard. He's going to be probably a first-round pick, maybe early second-round pick. Like K-State has a decent offensive line, and Texas was just manhandling them. I was surprised to see that, and I turned it off because I thought this is over. This is a blowout, and then like 10 minutes goes by, and I'm like 27-21 Kansas State. What the hell? And I turn it on, and I find out that Texas fumbled the ball on 2 different drives at like their own 20-yard line 2 times in a row, fumbled it to Kansas State, and Kansas State got touchdowns off of it. So, yeah, Malik Murphy definitely did not have a good game. In fact, he had 3 interceptions in this one, and if I'm going to be honest, he probably could have easily had like 5 interceptions because Kansas State dropped a couple of them in the first half. So, on one hand, I think that Kansas State was fortunate to be gifted the ability to come back and win this game. But then Kansas State was just sort of like, oh, yeah, well, thank you for letting us back in the game here. Now that we have a chance to win it, we'll give it back to you. Well, now we're going to screw up and let you win the game. That's kind of how I viewed this. That's kind of how it ended. I mean, glass half full take here. Texas easily could have blown them out if they just don't turn the ball over, if Malik Murphy just hangs on to the football. Kansas State, with better play calling and better execution from the kicker, probably wins this game at the very end. If, you know, it's whichever way you want to look at this. So I don't know. I'm curious to find out what post-game win expectancy is here.
Well, I mean, Texas is probably going to win out. Their schedule is very favorable. That's all I was going to say. What's up, Gonzo?
Oh, no, they just definitely need a Quinn to get back. You know, I think if Murphy had kind of had the Rices of the world in those kind of games to get his feet wet, he'd be a little more polished than he is now. But at this juncture, you know, it is hard to ask a backup to come in, even for weeks preparation. And, you know, K-State's not a bad team at all. And clearly he needed to be game manager and try to do a little too much. So Sark either needs to kind of just scale it back and just let your 5 stars go to work, or, you know, just hope Quinn gets healthy. But we can't ignore that they should have won this game handedly. I mean, I'm at UPS and I'm shocked that it's 27-27 for goodness sake. But I will say Texas usually loses a game like this. When you implode, go to overtime, it's a choke. So the fact that they actually held the line and won is a testament that this is not your average. This is not your college era, college years. We're in our mid-20s, college years Texas. This is a Texas team that is turning the corner and actually showing that they are legitimate and should be taken serious. So I think it's a good win for them. And it's just a heartbreaker for K-State.
I mean, they're probably going to win the Big 12. As much as I'm happy with how things are going for my Pokes, and we'll probably go play Texas in the Big 12, which historically we do well against them. There's just too many 5 stars, man. I think this is their year, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Speaking of too many 5 stars. Oh, okay, good.
It's a great point, Gonzo. I think this is a game that last year Texas would have lost, and this year they found out a way to win. But if Quinn Ewers plays this game, like, this is not even close. Like, this is a 3-touchdown win if Quinn Ewers plays. So we got to keep that in mind. Do we know when Quinn Ewers is going to be back? Because honestly, if they
1 or 2 more weeks.
What's their schedule? Somebody have their schedule pull up off the top.
They play TCU next, so that's a win. TCU's kind of bad.
They're walking a tightrope with Malik Murphy.
And then they play Texas Tech.
TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech. I mean,
that's 3 wins.
They're walking a tightrope with Malik Murphy, though. I mean, Malik Murphy did not play well at all. Like, he easily could have had 5 interceptions, and then he basically like almost handed Kansas State the game with fumbling the ball multiple times. Like, that's got to be cleaned up.
If Oak State goes into Arlington playing this version of Texas, where somehow Quinn is not back by December, you have more than a fighting chance to win the Big 12.
Yeah, he'll be back by then. He'll be back.
He will. But
that's all right.
You don't have Elko managing his health and putting him out there.
No, Texas D line is going to feast, man. They are just going to feast. Like, I think it might be the best defensive line in the whole country. Like, it is that good. That's guys,
why they're able to beat Bama.
Exactly. Well, let's go back in the SEC. Let's talk about Georgia versus Missouri. Now, I was able to sort of watch this game on the side as Bedlam was going on. Honestly, my takeaways from this game was it wasn't so that I thought this was a letdown performance from Georgia. I thought Missouri absolutely played their butts off in this one. Absolutely played their butts off.
They came to play. And for a minute, I thought Missouri might actually kind of round a corner and pull ahead and pull out, but now Georgia said that's not happening, little bro. We still own the East. Don't forget your place. Don't forget who you are. Eli Drinkwitz, here's your wedgie, you dork. But anyway, all due respect to Missouri, they're doing great this year. They're fantastic. Luther Burden, that man has arrived this year. He is playing like the 5-star that he was built out to be. Next year, he will be a very good draft pick. Luckily, Missouri's got him for another year. So yeah, man. I mean, and we'll see. I'm curious to see because Missouri is riding that wave of success. So I'm thinking they might be able to get some good portal pieces too to get even better on offense. So we'll see, man.
Is this the first time that Georgia's defense has gone up against another 5-star wide receiver from an opposing team? Because I've been wanting to see Georgia's corners, Georgia's this DBs go up against a true 5-star first-round talent. Yeah, this season.
I mean, Florida did what's his name? You know what I'm talking about, freshman.
Oh, Trey Wilson. Yeah, but he's not
Burden, yeah.
No, Trey Wilson's a freshman, man. No.
I mean, outside, no. The answer is no. This is the first 5-star. I think that the secondaries.
Luther Burden's going to be a first-round pick in 2025. Yeah.
I feel like he gets slept on. I mean,
because he plays for Missouri.
Yeah, he plays for Missouri. But he's really flipping good. And I'll say, and this is with 2013 and 2014 in context. I mean, if Mizzou had this team anytime before 17, I mean, we're talking playoff contender. I mean, how would they do against Bama? It's just a shame, they get such a good team, but you're in the East, which is just so top heavy with Georgia, who they did almost beat. I mean, they got to be the only team in the East to maybe play Georgia this well 2 years in a row. I want to say I could be
2 years in a row.
Yes.
That 2 years in a row. Yes.
No, I think they got a really good thing going there, and good for Eli. I mean, he came in on kind of a warm seat, and then he gets him to this great start. I mean, and they're doing great on the recruiting trail. and he's definitely made them formidable and made them relevant. So hat tip to the Mizzou Tigers.
So what do you guys think the post-game win
And
expectancy was for this game?
Pretty close to 50-50, if I had to guess.
I'd say, yeah, Georgia 55.
Post-game win expectancy says Missouri 59% of the time.
Brutal.
Listen, I didn't get to fully pay attention to this one, but you look at the total yardage. Missouri put up 363 yards compared to Georgia's 385, so they were pretty much even in that regard. Missouri outrushed them. Passing wise, they were nearly on pace. It was the 2 interceptions from Brady Cook. They had 2-0 turnover deficit from Missouri on Brady Cook's 2 interceptions. I mean, those really did turn the game on its head. I mean, Missouri had a second half lead.
One of those was by a D lineman. When that happened and he returned it to like the 7, I switched games. I'm like, this is over. And then I was shocked to see Georgia kicking a field goal somehow. But yeah, I mean, when you throw a pick to a D lineman, like that's how you know it's just not your day as a team.
And this was at Sanford too. This was at UGA. Like, man, you take away one of those interceptions, man. Like this might have actually been able to, like that might have actually happened. I think Missouri could have done it.
I mean, lucky for Mizzou, man. Lucky for Mizzou. They got a lot of these like really good offensive pieces come back next year.
They do, and they play Tennessee this week at home. That's going to be the ultimate, like, who is the second best team in the SEC East game right there.
Hey, that's for a New Year's Six game. I mean, that game matters. We talk so much, oh, this doesn't matter. No, like the winner of that game, like, could see themselves playing in, I guess, the Sugar Bowl, I'd say, because the SEC runner-up, unless
it's an important statement game for Missouri.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
it's a big deal.
The winner could get a not large spot in New Year's Six because LSU is 3 losses. So winner of Tennessee, Missouri, assuming they win out, that's 10-2. They would get that last at large spot over an LSU theoretically. So yeah, it is a big game for many reasons, but yeah, Georgia's going to win the East. I think that doesn't need to be stated, but we all know that. Well, how about we talk a little bit of SEC now we're at it. There's a few more storylines here. There's a couple more games that we kind of want to run down through here. So one, how about this? How about the noon Eastern slate, man? There was some good games going on. I had like 3 TV screens going on all at once. Ole Miss A&M was kind of an instant classic in a way. Ole Miss like came from behind at the very end there to win. A&M was down multiple scores for most of this game. They had that crazy, was it a field goal block or a punt block return? I think it was a field goal block return touchdown A&M had in the first quarter, right? I didn't get to see it, but yeah, Ole Miss still won by 3 points. It was a push on the cover on the spread. So what are your takeaways here? This is A&M's 4th loss on the season. Ole Miss now is 8-1. They're going to be ranked in the top 10 with Georgia next week. I mean, listen, we kind of doubted Ole Miss. We doubted A&M. We correctly doubted A&M. We cashed the A&M under. Let's go.
And I cashed under the Ole Miss over.
You had the over on Ole Miss.
Yes.
That's right. Sorry.
In hindsight, I wish I took the over, but I just didn't have enough time before we did win totals to do research on them. So
I don't blame you. I mean, that's the Ole Miss MO. I mean, the fact they got a block to win this, I mean, I think Lane Kiffin carries some mojo with him. It's not like Iowa. Iowa is level.
Iowa is like
100 necromancer.
Yeah. Well, no, it was A&M that had the block. You're talking about the field goal?
No, I'm talking to win the game. Like Ole Miss got their hand on the ball, and that's why the field goal at the end was short. A&M lines up to kick the game-tying field goal, and Ole Miss is able to get in there and get some of the ball, and it dies like a yard short of the post, basically sealing Jimbo's fate. Yeah, I was watching this in my car at the drive-thru at a really good fried chicken place out here in Louisiana.
I feel like you're always out in your car at something. You're always at the grocery store. You're always coming in the parking lot.
I was at the mail. I was at the UPS office. I was at.
But I keep tabs. Like I said, I keep tabs, and we're waiting this lines forever, and I'm watching it, and I was literally put my hands in the air. And I was like, oh my gosh, Ole Miss just won. And as for the big picture, Jimbo, I mean, I would have thought you were going to go to West Virginia after this year, but man, like, you are what you are with A&M. I mean,
well, I'll tell you what, man. A&M fans don't have to worry about the Texas 8 and mid or 8 and 4 jokes anymore because they still have to go to Baton Rouge, so they're going to be Texas 7 and 5, not 8 and mid, not 8 and 4. So
8 and mid.
It's like Max Johnson's not too good. I saw him here like in Baton Rouge. Like he is not a really the best quarterback, but at the same time, like with the talent on the defensive line, with the talent at skill players. I mean, Devin A-Chain was killing it for the Dolphins before he got hurt. I mean, you have
my God,
talent
he was,
that you brought in and out. It is inexcusable, even in the years you beat Bama. Can they that? He's done it. He's done it once, actually. The one time you did. They've never even sniffed going to Atlanta. And they've just had losses like this where you're just left scratching your head. And Lane Kiffin is making like at least probably maybe close to what Jimbo's making. But the point is, like, Lane has outclassed him easily these last few seasons.
I mean, I just look at quarterback. I feel like you can illustrate this with two quarterbacks I have in mind with Jimbo. You have Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond, remember the Kellen Mond era at A&M?
Like one of the most mid quarterbacks ever who started forever.
Yes. We never thought he was that good. He was a good college quarterback. We never thought he was actually like he had any NFL ceiling. Jimbo Fisher basically like conned the Minnesota Vikings into wasting a 3rd-round pick on Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond didn't even last like 2 years in the NFL. Like he was a complete bust. He was a 3rd-round pick.
Which we all knew he was terrible.
Right. Then you look at Haynes King. What did you think about Haynes King after this year? Now look at what Haynes King's doing at Georgia Tech.
He's killing it. He's killing it at Georgia Tech.
The only difference between Kellen Mond and Haynes King is that Haynes King got out in time. He got out of the asylum.
Got out in time.
That is true. That is true.
I mean, I'm not saying Haynes King's going to be an NFL quarterback by any means, but like, I mean, I don't know. He could
still having way more success than he did at A&M. No, like Jimbo with the way that, look, I know he brought in. Look, I know he's supposedly not calling all the plays now, but I think he still has a pretty big hand in that offense, and that's why any quarterback that Jimbo touches turns into poop. So, I mean, ever since Florida State, if he touches a quarterback, I think Jameis was his last good one. So, yeah,
and it's not like Jameis has been an NFL, buzzsaw. I mean, he backs up on the New Orleans Saints right now. For goodness sakes.
Yeah, it's rough out there, man. So. Jimbo Fisher, I think the A&M boosters are 70, 80 million, whatever the crazy number is to buy out your contract. They're calling up the oil tycoons right now, and they're saying, hey, man, can I get that advance? We got to get this man out of here.
Gonzo, I thought you gave a great hypothetical off air. If A&M gets rid of Jimbo Fisher and they're looking at coaches right now, who'd you say you think they should hire?
Oh, that was Zan. Zan was saying
that was Zan. My bad.
Mike Elko, which I think is a brilliant.
Yeah, Mike Elko, bringing Mike Elko back home. The former DC man.
You have the Saturday Scholars endorsement on that move right there. I think that would be a brilliant move if they can pull.
Like legitimately, Mike Elko, what he's done with Duke. Imagine if you give him all the 4 or 5 stars, like for that A&M gets. Forget about it.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, at A&M, you can't. They want to act like a blue blood, but the reality is that Texas A&M football is not a blue blood football program, unfortunately. So
they're right there with Miami.
What?
They're right there with Miami. Always have these high expectations, have all this money, bring all these good players in, consistently don't perform.
And we'll get to Miami. Let's get down to the Sunshine State. Shub, I did catch the end of the Gator game. They need to stop with these alternate uniforms. Like, oh man, there's number 25 commitment with the tackle. Like I don't care for that crap. Do the orange and blue. Like, do what works. And in my opinion, this is a bad loss. Arkansas is not good. And when I saw KJ Jefferson in overtime run 25 yards and run a guy over, I was like, what in the world are we doing here right now? Like, I'm very concerned about the Gators' prospects of making a bowl game now. Like, this is the one you had to get.
Agreed. And this was Arkansas's first SEC win. They were 0-5 in SEC play. We gave the Hogs their first conference win on the year. I mean, not a good look at all. And it was in the swamp.
It was looking like Florida was a shoo-in to get there over, and now they may not get it. What is it, 5.5? They may not get it.
Florida's next 3 games, LSU, at Missouri, Florida State.
Oof, 5-7.
And it's at LSU. Sorry. At LSU, at Missouri, and FSU.
Yeah, that's 5-7.
I think they can steal one of those three. I think they can, but will they is the question. I don't know. Gators have been very much hot and cold, but yeah, I mean they're going to be a 6-6, 5-7 team. As far as Arkansas though, just really quick, I think for Sam Pittman, I even though I was a Gator fan, man, that just broke my heart, but like I felt good for Sam Pittman, man. Like that guy's getting like you got to be insane if you think Arkansas can do anything better than like a 7-5, 8-4 ceiling. Like that is hard to do at Arkansas in the SEC,
especially in the West.
Yeah, especially in the West, and like the fact that OU and Texas are coming into the league now, it's not going to get any easier for Arkansas. Like I'm sorry guys, but like I don't think you should be expecting anything more than like 6 wins max, like in the future. So like you got to be insane to think that Sam Pittman needs to be fired and that you can hire somebody that can do much better. That's my humble opinion. I know that's hard to swallow, but like that's what I think.
Makes sense how I deliver it. So I don't mean to interject, but if you fire Sam, you are more likely to hire the next Chad Morris than somebody better than Sam Pittman. With Sam Pittman, you know what you got. He fits the culture, which that matters in college football. Does not matter in NFL, but it matters in college football. He is Arkansas Razorback brand. And the reality is he missed on his OC hire. I mean, that's what it is. If you had not brought in, it was Enos, Mike right? Enos, I want to make sure I've got my, if you haven't brought Enos in, you probably win a couple more games than you should have. And also, I don't know if I heard it on the broadcast, but I think all their losses have been one possession. So it's just a Nebraska year. It's one of those ticky-tacky, the ball bounce a different way. You change the bob, this team could be potentially, 8-4 by season's end. So I don't think you got to sell the ship on Pittman because of just one bad
Pittman
stretch.
has the best opportunity for Arkansas to kind of become what Kentucky has in Mark Stoops. Mm-hmm. You just need that guy who has a solid baseline. They're going to get you at least 8, and then on your good years, you're going to get 10. But expecting any more than that is a little bit unrealistic. And of course, I know Hogs fans won't want to hear that, but you got to look at your opponents, man. There's just no way you can expect more than that unless you just happen to get some special talent, like all at once in one conglomeration. But even then, that doesn't happen very often.
Agreed.
Speaking of getting talent and moving it over to the ACC, man, I don't know what the heck happened with Clemson. I don't know what happened during the Bible study this week, but man, they came ready to go, and I was thoroughly shocked. Sam Hartman must have been seeing ghost, because I should have taken that into account when picking this game, that just because the team's down, when you're playing at home against a quarterback who historically struggles against you, those things kind of matter just a little bit. And Dabo, love him or hate him, he did a phenomenal job in getting this win against Notre Dame, 31-23.
Sam Hartman broke a record, right? He was the first quarterback ever to be 0-5 as a starter versus an opponent, right? Because of the COVID rules now we're seeing this, because like no players have had the opportunity to start in 5 games versus a team. It's like an extremely rare thing. 0-5. That's tough. That's tough, man.
Well, we know who had the stronger Bible study, and it wasn't Notre Dame, and they're a Catholic school. So, hey, all credit to Dabo. He said, we don't need NIL. We need what? I don't even remember what it was. It was some cringy quote. Like, we don't need NIL. We need NI God or something. I don't know.
We're made Jesus
Dabo
Christ,
said if Clemson's a stock, now is the time to buy low. Do we agree with that?
I do not at all, because they can't they can't even make their championship game. So like,
this is like, is he working for Stratton Oakmont? Trying to sell me stock right here.
I know, I'm trying to sell those penny stocks.
We all
bought trying to go broke here.
We all bought that stock at $1 and it's dropped to like 20 cents. Now he's telling us to like sell it at like 40 cents. Is what 40 cents on the dollar is what he's doing.
Basically,
that's like in The Big Short, the movie, when Bear Stearns stock goes down to like 30 and they hit the guy in the presser with it, and he's like, "What would you do?" He's like, "Oh, I'd buy more," and that's how they all knew like the fix is in. So no, like this is a good bounce back win, and maybe you can keep going to get your 6 wins like a bowl game, but I'm not buying Clemson stock. Please, I'd buy Louisville stock, and they're still masters.
Well, from Bible studies, let's transition over from Bible studies and Chick-fil-A and God and to some strip clubs, strip clubs in South Beach and all that, flamingos, pink hotels. Let's talk about Miami. Come on, man. What the hell? What the hell, Miami? They lost 20-6 to NC State. I didn't watch this one, granted, but like, good grief, man. Tyler Van Dyke, something's up with him, man. There's got to be something up. I think he's got to be playing through an injury again. He was awful in this game, threw 3 interceptions. Miami had 3 turnovers, didn't score a single touchdown. A credit to NC State, man. Credit to NC State. Like, this is a team that I kind of feel like NC State is a discount Oklahoma State. Dave Doran is a discount Mike Gundy, because this is a program where it's like whenever you're doubting them and you want to write them off, it's like that buy low point where they're still going to make a bowl game. They're still going to pull off some upsets. Yeah. What, any takeaways from this?
Just credit to NC State, man, because I know I was lower on them than all of us were in win totals, and I still don't think they're that good. I think they're mainly taking advantage of the ACC not being that good. We just have a little more parity at the top this year in the ACC than we're accustomed to seeing. But hey, man, good for them. I think Miami was looking ahead to this week a little bit against FSU. And I do think that played a fact into this. I can absolutely see that being the case. All the 5 stars on Miami who are just like, oh no, I don't care about NC State. We gonna smack them. We don't have to practice them. Let's go for FSU. You know, like, and yeah.
This
NC
is
State's
just
defense.
classic. This is classic Miami. In my humble opinion, they don't have a win, a substantial win at all this year. Even like you beat Texas A&M, that's fool's gold.
It is.
It was.
You
Oh, that was.
You beat him with Wegman at least, but still, like
2 years in a row now. This is the second year in a row that Miami A&M game has been fool's gold. Remember last year when and it was just the result was reversed. Last year we were like, oh my god,
Yep.
A&M beat Miami. We thought that was like a huge deal at the time. It turned out it was not a big deal at all. Same thing this year.
Like,
just Miami
we gave it's because we're giving both teams too much dang credit. It's really just a mid-off. Like it's no different than Boston College beating Wake Forest or vice versa. Like it's they're kind of on that same tier right now. I mean, not tier, but you know, A&M would beat them. But I'm just saying similar level opponents, and nothing's really going to come of it.
It's very possible Miami could lose out to end the year.
Yeah, they got to play
Absolutely.
Louisville,
I'm serious.
FSU,
You
and
gotta,
then
no, Boston College up there in Chestnut. I said it in win totals.
Oh, they
Boston
give up
College,
by then, yeah.
It's made a bowl game. This team's gonna quit. It's gonna be 30 degrees. Nobody's gonna want to play in that except Boston College, who takes this game serious.
if they
I
get
think,
their
that,
butt
I think
whooped-
that weather component is a good addition to your point there, Gonzo, because they're used to that South Beach weather. They're gonna be like, let's just hurry up and play this game, get the hell out of here. Like,
this is the same thing that
They're
happened to
not-
them last year. Like, you're right, Gonzo. I think
Yes.
if they get their butt whooped by FSU, like, they are going to quit. Like, I am hammering Louisville and BC on the spreads those final 2 weeks. That
But-
team is definitely going to quit.
I don't know what they're doing, but you shouldn't like. It's like after Clemson, they thought the season was over. You shouldn't have to go into overtime against Virginia, who I mean,
Virginia
is
got
bad, but at
smoked
least
by Georgia Tech. Like,
oh,
Virginia,
yeah, no,
just,
they're
like,
bad. Yeah, they
Virginia
and-
gave them 2. They said, all right, we're going to try our best for 2 games, and we're just going to go back to normal.
It's classic Miami. That's all I'm going to say. And no amount of NIL can fix that.
Yeah. But shout out to NC State, though. Hey, man, top 25
Oh, yeah.
defense, Wolfpack, man. Also, real quick, they were running Brennan Armstrong out of the Wildcat. Brennan
Oh, my
Armstrong had
gosh.
MJ Morris is the QB, but they got Brennan Armstrong running some Wildcat there. He had 8 for 51 on the ground, didn't throw a pass.
They're
So
doing
just-
what the Saints do with Taysom Hill. I love it.
He's basically their Taysom Hill. Zan, you were right about him, man. I think Oklahoma State made the right move by going Alan Bowman. Well, I guess Brennan Armstrong made that decision, but was a blessing in
Worked
disguise
out.
there. It did, yes. Fair to say that.
I never wanted him to begin with, so
Yes, and I credit you for that. All right, let's go talk some Pac-12, boys. How about Oregon State, Colorado? Oregon State pulled away in this game. I'd say Colorado got a touchdown there at the very end, and garbage time kind of made it look a lot of it. The final score looked closer than it actually was. The big story from this game on the Colorado side is Colorado before this game, Deion Sanders demoted Sean Lewis, who is not going to be calling plays anymore. He wasn't calling plays in this Oregon State game. Instead, he promoted quality control analyst Pat Shermer and had Sean Lewis signaling the plays in from the sideline. So Sean Lewis is no longer calling plays for Colorado. I have some strong opinions here. What do you guys think about that move?
Well, voice your opinions real quick, Shub.
I think that was like one of the dumbest things Deion Sanders could possibly do. That was one of the dumbest things he could possibly do. Of all the problems that Colorado has, of all the problems, offensive coordinator was the least of them. Sean Lewis is widely considered as like a very savvy offensive coordinator. And when Deion Sanders made that hire, that was kind of what raised our eyebrows. Remember, Zane, when we were talking about that over the offseason, we were like, oh, wait a minute. We think Deion Sanders, we think that this might be a gimmick. Like we had our doubts, but we were like, okay, he hired Sean Lewis. Like that's actually a very savvy hire. And I was like, okay, Deion might actually know what he's doing here with these hires. And we were saying that's what he needs to do is hire good coordinators. And like he can pull this thing off. And listen,
He's
I know
playing the blame game right now.
it's so dumb, man.
Deion Sanders legitimately came out. Deion Sanders legitimately came out and basically said, "Hey, my offensive linemen suck. I'm going to go get someone in the portal who can play." That's basically what he said. So it's like Deion's strategy is, so Deion's approach is, I'm not developing anybody. You come play for me if you're good enough. That's his strategy. I ain't going to develop. I'm just going to get the people who are good enough to win.
Y'all stick with me here. Ready? Y'all watch Hard Knocks, right? What do people probably love the most about Hard Knocks? When a player gets cut or there's a shakeup. To my knowledge, is Deion not doing some show component along with this season for every week? So it only makes sense for viewership, for drama, that for no good reason he takes his OC, who his MAC team is in the dumpster right now since he's left as head coach, and demotes him to put a failed NFL head coach as the acting OC. It's pure drama. It makes no sense. It's an absolutely stupid decision. And I don't think any school serious about the game of college football would allow any head coach to actually do this in good faith.
I think Shitter, look, when we first started, I was thinking, okay, maybe he has this going the right track. They started well. We thought maybe some of the wins were a little bit,
talking about fool's gold,
misleading. Yeah, misleading.
Yeah.
And
the chest.
But now the moves that Deion is making now in the face of adversity, I don't think he's responding well. And quite frankly, I don't know if Colorado is going to be able to take that next step. Because if you're a kid and you are entering the transfer portal and Coach Prime's like, hey, come over here, I'd be like, I'm an offensive lineman and you want me to come play for you. Didn't you just say your offensive linemen suck? Like, what happens if I make a mistake? You can just say you suck. Like, you're not going to try to develop me. You expect me to be good before I even go there. And I don't know. That's the whole approach here. Deion Sanders has not proven that he can develop talent. He's got the personality. He made good coaching hires, but now he's going back on them. And I don't know, man. I think there's too much instability. And I think there's going to be a culture issue there at Colorado, especially when you got your quarterback there flexing his $100,000 watch at the ASU student section. I mean, like that. I don't know. I just think there's character issues with Colorado.
Zan, what's going on now is what I thought would happen at the beginning of the season. And again, you were smart on that over, because what basically happened was you get married. This is the honeymoon period, and it was great for that first month. And then the first bill and mortgage came due. And now all these problems, everything's getting aired out. And this is turning into exactly what I feared it could be at Colorado. And if they don't get some of these things turned around, it's just going to be an absolute circus, like I had initially thought back when this news of his hiring broke months ago.
Like, I think this is a really bad move for so many reasons. One, you talk about players wanting to play for Deion Sanders and the problem with potentially trying to get players coming in through the transfer portal. Well, what about coaches? We talk about coordinators. A lot of Colorado's future success is dependent on how good of coordinators that Deion hires. He hired a great one in Sean Lewis. Colorado has the 28th best offense in the country. Their defense is sub 100. You just like basically ran off your offensive coordinator, who's considered one of the best in the game, that is definitely going to be hired by a better program. And listen, like, we all know everything about Colorado. Like, if you are a coach right now, there's a lot of coaches that are out there right now that absolutely hate Colorado. They're pissed off by it. They don't like the whole gimmick, the whole show situation. Look at me. They hate that. But behind the scenes, there's some coaches out there and some probably good coordinators that are like, oh my gosh, like I actually would probably consider Colorado a destination job for me because I'll get my name on the map if I simply just coach there. And there's probably some good coordinators that probably might want to work for Deion Sanders at Colorado just so they can get that exposure. And they're going to be looking at this and saying, okay, wait a minute. So if I go to Colorado and I have success and I get demoted for having success, like Sean Lewis did, why would you want to work for that guy? If you're interested in Colorado and you're a coordinator, why would you want to go play for a coach that is going to demote you for having success? Like Colorado's taken so many steps forward with Deion compared to last year, but this was a massive step back to me. Massive step back. Just really stupid.
Well, let's transition from bad coaching decisions to great coaching decisions and great coaching. Arizona, man, 27-10, beat UCLA handedly. Arizona's good, guys. They're here. They're a good team. They figured it out kind of late in the season, but hey, man, they're going to be, well, they're probably going to win 8 games. So
I want to say 2 things. Oh, my doubt in Arizona, I will eat crow. They're a good team. They're going to be. I'm going to be tailing them the rest of the year, and I want to tail back super quick. Oregon State, they are still alive in the Pac-12 hunt. They got Oregon and Washington coming up. If they can split those games, they might find their way in the Pac-12 championship. I just wanted to make that note on their game against Colorado.
Oh yeah, Beavs low key, man. Beaver backdoor. It's on the table.
Keeping the dam.
We will see.
As for Zona, I mean, this is just amazing. I mean, they're getting talent out there. You thoroughly whopped UCLA, and I don't care if it's you had quarterback issues. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. If you got a team that really can't figure out the quarterback position, you beat them by 3 possessions, and just an absolutely great win. I've talked about this in previous pods, but I think Arizona's got themselves in a good spot as they're preparing for a conference transition. I mean, you can't not be optimism. I mean, they're going bowling, for goodness sakes.
Dude, Fafita is so good. Like, I don't know if you guys were able to watch this one. I wasn't able to watch it. I watched the highlights, and I've been watching Arizona, because I live out here, and Pac-12 After Dark, I'm able to watch them a lot. Like, you guys actually watched Fafita's highlights, man. Like, he's elusive as hell, too, and he's an accurate passer. And, like, this dude's he's listed as 5'11", 194, and we all know that's pretty generous. Like, he might actually be, like, 5'10". Like, this dude, he might be the next... I don't know what's a good comparison for him, but like, he's going to eat. He's going to eat in the Big 12, man. Like, he is going to be a problem. Like, he is legitimately good. Like, I think I don't want to get ahead of myself right now, but I think by watching Fafita, he's a freshman right now. I think Fafita will be a Heisman contender. Like, he will be one of the Heisman finalists in the next year or two if Arizona has some special seasons in the near future. Like, I think he's legitimately that good. And I'm not trying to over-exaggerate.
If Jed Fish gets poached, maybe Fafita gets poached too.
Bro, UCLA's defense, though, man. UCLA's defense is one of the better ones out there. I watch Fafita out there. Like, UCLA, you guys know what UCLA's defensive efficiency margin is? They're number 8 in the country. And Fafita, I think this dude's legitimately good, boys. Like, I think he could be like maybe a Baker Mayfield. I'll throw out that comparison. Shorter guy, under 6 foot, very elusive, also an accurate passer. Terrific college player, Heisman level player. I think that's Noah Fafita. I'm just throwing it out there right now. I watch him and I'm like, this dude's better.
He's a smaller version of a new Solomon. I had to go in the archives. A new Solomon was the Arizona quarterback when they went to the Fiesta Bowl and lost the heartbreaker to the Boise State. And it seems like nearly 8 years later, they got to the goal line and everything. It seems like 8 years later, they have rekindled this magic in Fafita. So, Shub, I absolutely would place a flyer on that in the future of Fafita being in the Heisman running because he is a very special player.
If you're not a U of A fan, man, go watch his highlights. Like, I see that in him. I'm like, this dude like actually is legitimately good. So we'll see.
And it's a good transition because we're talking about Heisman. What happened to Cam Ward and what happened in Washington State? This is insane. You lose to Stanford? I mean, it's almost grudge material, but I like. How do you lose to Stanford?
I mean, it kind of is for me. If Stanford wins one more, I'm going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, this was an elephant in the room. I didn't want to talk about it, but yeah, enough said. You lose at home to Stanford. I mean, that's enough said. They lost to Arizona State too.
Yeah. The ASU
5 in a row after starting 4-0 and beating Wisconsin too.
They beat Oregon State.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this team. I don't know what's going on with this team. 5. No words. No words. Least, like I cannot piece together anything.
Well, at least Oregon State too, with the conference blowing up, at least people want like Oregon State's attractive at least to schedule and they're trending in the right direction. But Wazoo just hit the wall and continues, and it's like the car just they keep trying to ram it through the wall and it is not working. I don't have Cam Ward's stats, so I'm not going to speak blindly. But clearly he's been a non-factor if they're on a 5-game losing streak.
You don't need the stats. He's been awful the last few weeks. Outside of like 1 or 2 games, he's been absolutely awful. Yeah, I mean, I said it a few weeks ago. It's like someone just pulled the plug out. Like someone just pulled the power cord out on the offense and just turned it off. I don't know what's going on.
Reset the game.
Yeah. So somebody rage quit on the PS4 and pulled the plug out.
So Wazoo. 5 losses in a row. So I guess 5 games ago is when Wazoo got their Big 12 application denied.
Pretty much. But yeah, man, Stanford's got 3 wins in the bank now. And they got Cal.
They win one more.
They got Cal at home.
I hope Cal beats them, man. They win one more, I'm going to lose like $100.
Cal should beat them, but Stanford's always good for this, though. I mean, that's not now. Washington State's not a great team, but remember, Stanford beat Notre Dame last year.
Yeah, and they still got to play.
That's before they lost their whole roster.
Yep. Yeah,
and that's why Troy Taylor, Stanford, they can be an ACC darling. He's a good coach.
Well,
he is
darling, like a mid-level team, not like win the conference or anything nuts like that. But
you guys ready to wrap it up with the Big Ten here real quick? We have a few things we got to talk about. So really quick, I just wanted to mention this game, Ohio State Rutgers. This game, if you watch this one, the final score was extremely misleading. Ohio State played like absolute crap. And honestly, I think they were fortunate to win at the very end. Like they definitely were trying to garbage time, like save themselves from a really ugly looking win here. And if you watch this game, you know that Rutgers was up at halftime and arguably should have been up by 9 points at halftime. Wimsatt just missed like a wide open touchdown there before the end of the half. And then he had that pick, which Ohio State had that pick 6 there, which was just a terrible decision by Wimsatt. But like we all know, Gavin Wimsatt's not a good passer. But the point is, Ohio State really struggled there on the road. So I don't know if you guys had any takeaways from this. I mean, listen, Rutgers got a good defense. Rutgers is a good defense this year. They're a bowling team. But Ohio State, I think
between Ohio State and Michigan, we now know that there's a common opponent, and Michigan thoroughly handled Rutgers. So we'll see, man. The game is going to be interesting. It's looking like Michigan might be the best team in the Big Ten, but I'm thinking there's at least 4 teams better than Michigan right now. So we'll see, man.
I think Ohio State's worrying about their ex instead of working on themselves. And I say that in the sense of they're really getting caught up on pointing the finger at Michigan with this whole sign stealing thing. And it's
I know, and then Michigan's coming back. They're like, no, you're cheating.
and we'll get into it in like a couple minutes. But it's like, don't worry about this off the field stuff, especially when Ohio State's had some unrelated issues of their own just in the past. And maybe part of this was getting drunk off being the number 1 seed in the playoff in the first rankings. And they're like, oh, you see, like we're number 1. We don't really have to care, because the committee knows that we beat Notre Dame. And that's what matters. So maybe that played into it. I mean, they've got you've got Michigan State and Minnesota, so they could still stay on cruise control until Michigan. But I still think to play a game this close against Rutgers, even an improved Rutgers, is still a little concerning because the Ohio State I grew up on beats every mediocre, and again, they're not mediocre this year, but every non-Michigan Big Ten team by 45.
But we said during the offseason, remember Ohio State fans were complaining about Jim Knowles last year, and like I took offense to that. I'll tell you that. I especially took offense to that. just as we predicted over win totals, the defense is like an elite defense that is completely carrying this team right now, thanks to Jim Knowles. I mean, hell, if you combine this year's Ohio State defense with last year's offense with C.J. Stroud, that team like wins the national title. It's not even close. But
did you see Stroud today? He went down the field in 30.
C.J. Stroud is having a good year, man. But can't say the same about Bryce Young, who had 2 pick sixes.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of surprising, but anyhow, though.
Tell.
Yeah, if Ohio State and Michigan played right now, I would pick Michigan to win by 2 touchdowns or more. That's what I would pick. Well, let's talk about some Iowa football, boys. We always got to end that. We got to end the Power 5 slate with some Iowa. So, how about this stat for you guys? Iowa versus Northwestern at Wrigley Field. It was 0-0 at halftime in typical Iowa fashion. There was some scoring there towards the end of the game. Iowa won with a field goal there late in the game. So there were 17 total points in this game. At Wrigley Field, the Chicago Cubs played in 7 games this year where there was a combined more than 17 runs between both teams, between the Cubs and their opponent at Wrigley, than there was in this football game. Think about that. So the Cubs had a few games where they had scored more runs combined than Iowa and Northwestern did on the football field at Wrigley. you love to see it, man. I love it, man. Like I'm not gonna lie, and this leads into our point. Breaking news: Brian Ferentz is not really breaking, but Brian Ferentz is going to step down at the end of this year. He's going to play. He's going to coach through the bowl game and everything. So he's finishing out the year, but he's going to leave. Move on to bigger and better things. But I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I saw that news, like I was a little sad. Like I've been enjoying this content the last 2 years, man. Like I have enjoying this like monstrosity. It is fun. It gives us content to talk about and joke about every week. I'm gonna miss it.
I'm going to miss it too, man, but who knows? Maybe Iowa brings in someone who's just like Ferentz. Of course, it won't be a nepotism play this time, but maybe it's just the Iowa formula. You have to have bad offense to have the voodoo on defense. That's the balance in the universe.
If I'm Oklahoma State, if I'm Mike Gundy, the only program with more money than them that I think they should be worried about poaching Casey Dunn is Iowa. Because if Iowa hired Casey Dunn, they'd be jumping for joy. That is the only program that I could see poaching Casey Dunn right now and consider that, and they would consider that a huge upgrade. So that's just the level that's the part we're talking about right now.
What I could see is Kirk Ferentz after this year calls it a career because he doesn't want to deal with the new Big Ten. He's like, I'd like to introduce new head coach of Iowa Hawkeye football, Brian Ferentz.
Oh,
God. He's technically not the OC.
Oh man, they would burn down Kinnick.
That'd be like the biggest troll job in the history of college football ever pulled.
They'd be like, yeah, his contract just said he won't be OC if he doesn't score 26 points a game or whatever. It didn't say I can't promote him to head coach.
And you have to be a troll to like do this every week. I mean, he might as well have the troll mask on. Like he delights in it. It's
I would lose it.
Like the offense goes 3 and out, and Phil Parker's over here like, whoosh, whoosh, like with all his spells, like trying desperately to keep Iowa from dying, like whoosh, whoosh, fending off the onslaught from the offense. Expelliarmus.
I mean, there's no shot they practice offense. Like I'm like I wonder if like for their practices, he tells the offense go play Madden and like just run some plays there, and we're just gonna keep focusing on defense.
I think they just practice the voodoo, man. I think the offense goes out there and they say, hey, let's put this in a position to where our defense can practice intercepting it and forcing fumbles. Don't practice being good at offense. Just practice, like, put yourself in a position so our defense can practice getting the ball from you. We have to get the voodoo.
Do they have a wide receiver position coach? Like, I don't think they need one. Like they don't even need to do receiver drills. They just need to. The receivers should just practice with the O linemen. Because that's all they do.
Iowa had a game earlier this year where they didn't complete a single pass to a receiver. So
yeah, I mean, all they do is block. They don't actually have to catch the ball. So, like, you're just an offensive lineman that's just a little skinnier, with a little more athletic. But yeah, I'm gonna be. Sorry, go ahead, Gonzo.
No, I'm just gonna say I'm sorry, Shu, but they're gonna win the West because Wisconsin messed around and lost to Indiana.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Zanny Bar.
See, and the best part about all this is we say all this like Iowa is like a complete dumpster fire, and yet they're gonna win. They're in the driver's seat to win the West.
Yeah, because
Everyone
all
else
the
is
other teams who were in the four-way tie lost.
it's
Unreal.
insane.
Unreal.
You want to talk about
Literally
Expelliarmus?
every
They were
other
like
team lost. Nebraska freaking lost too.
That's bad. That's
Nebraska,
not a bad loss.
Expelliarmus, Minnesota, Expelliarmus, Wisconsin, Expelliarmus. You're all losing.
It's like in The Godfather when he kills all the head of the 5 families at the end of the first movie. You gotta edit that with just Kirk Ferentz.
I mean, this team's on a baseball field against freaking Northwestern, dropping 10 points and going on to win the game and like freaking win the division. By the way, listen, this is breaking news. Zan, I think you sent me a tweet the other day. What was it? Was it the Iowa and Minnesota game like broke the record for the lowest like total like since they've been
so there's 5 win totals in the last like 20 years. Like the 5 lowest win totals per sports books in the last 20 years, Iowa has 4 of them.
That's
and they're all in the last couple of years.
Oh my
that
god.
banner up.
Well, I have some breaking news, folks. That lowest win total, I think it was 30.5, right? The closing line was 30.
Yeah, it was under.
Well, guess what? The record is going to be broken because do you guys know this? What the win total is? Hot off the press, the total in the Iowa Rutgers game, which we're going to pick. By the way, we're picking this game.
Win total. I'm going to say 27.5.
I was gonna say 28.5.
It is 28.5, boys.
Oh, perfect.
We've broken the record for the lowest total on a game between 2 college teams since betting has become a thing.
That
28.5. 28.5 is the total.
Iowa continues to raise the bar by lowering it.
Bro, we're picking that game.
6-3 Hawkeyes final.
I almost thought about thinking like, hey, why are we going to pick the winner in the spread? Like, I don't want to pick a side. Like, let's pick the total. Like, I want to say 28.5 over or under.
Can we take an alternate where it's under 20? Like,
oh my god, man, dude, that's like nuts though. Like, and I'm thinking to myself like 28.5. I'm thinking under. Like, I can't wait.
No, can't.
This is history, guys.
I think it's just hilarious. Like, Iowa legitimately has like the Ferentz era, the Brian Ferentz era at OC has been the worst offensive coordinator like era in like the history of college football. It like legitimately, or at least since sports betting has been around.
The college football gods need to give us an Iowa versus a Service Academy bowl game. That needs to happen.
That was one of the other 5 lowest ones. The total for last week's Army Air Force game was 30.5.
I need to see Iowa go up against Navy or Air Force in a bowl game. I need that. The total is going to be like 24.5. Maybe not even that. It might be like 21.5. We need to see that. We need to see Brian Ferentz versus a Service Academy before he leaves.
I think that's what they should take into account with bowl selections. Like, throw out conference alignment. Just be like, what is it actually?
It's the best show we can possibly put on the field.
Yeah, I mean,
and throw it in a baseball stadium too.
Yeah.
The Fenway Bowl. There we go.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Don't put me in charge of those bowl selections. I can't be on the bowl selection committee because that's exactly what I would do. Iowa Air Force in the Fenway Bowl. All right. Well, Iowa will have to worry about getting smoked by Michigan by 50 points in the Big Ten championship game before they get to go play in the Fenway Bowl. But speaking of Air Force, I mean, how much of a transition can we get here? G5 rundown real quick. Air Force, salute to the Flying Eagles, man. The Flying Falcons.
Gravy train had to come to an end somewhere.
The fighter jet crash landed. The undefeated season is no more. Man, against Army. Army was 2-6 going in this game, man. Like, Army's been awful this year. And not only that,
Service Academy, it's their Super Bowls.
Yeah, that was the Commanders-in-Chief trophy you had right there.
You just botched the Commanders-in-Chief trophy like horrifically. Yeah. Ugh. That's just rough, man. And it was not even close either.
Yeah.
So that leaves Liberty and James Madison as the only 2 remaining G5 teams that are undefeated. They're both 9-0.
And Liberty's the only one that can play for anything.
It's criminal, man. James Madison absolutely destroyed their opponent. Was it Georgia State or Georgia Southern? I forget. But like
it was Georgia State, yeah.
They're killing these teams. And Georgia State's like a solid Sun Belt team. Like, there's The Sun Belt is
They
solid
are,
this
yeah.
year, and they're beating these teams by like 3 touchdowns every week. It is
They're doing it with a bunch of 2-stars, so it's pretty amazing.
it is just criminal, man. It is we say it every week on this pod. It just can't get over it right now.
I'm telling you, like, I'm surprised no one's trying to poach their head coach. Like the coach job that they're able to do, and then the fact that he's able to keep his team motivated, knowing that they can't play for anything 2 years in a row, is nuts.
I mean, I want to
Quarterback change too.
I want to believe they get rings or something. Like you have to. It's like you won the conference. Like by all objective measures, you won the conference when you go and just.
They've been the best team in the conference 2 years in a row, and they're not going to get to prove it or get a trophy for it.
And I will say, as much as I'm happy to be riding the Tulane Green wave, they've barely been winning games. I mean,
yeah, they've been off a little bit.
They're due for a slip. And even if they get back to a New Year's Six, I don't know if they got that same juice to win one if they even get there. So, Shiv, you alluded to an at-large. I think there'll be a few at-larges. When we get
After this week's results, I'm thinking SMU might actually be able to be the New Year's Six team. Like, because even though they have 2 losses, like they are destroying teams, and they were to Oklahoma and TCU, so at least one of them was to a ranked Power 5 team, so you can't really hold that against them. But yeah, did you guys see Michael Pratt's comments about potentially transferring? Last week,
yeah,
he said no, but he didn't like explicitly deny that he wasn't going to leave. He just said like I'm focused on finishing the season at Tulane.
Get more exposure.
Yeah, there's some teams out there that could use him. I'll say that.
He could start at a majority of programs.
Yeah, he's going to leave.
That might be what also finally puts Fritz out the door too. Because remember, Fritz was flirting with Georgia Tech last year, and then he decided not to. So
Willie Fritz to A&M.
Oh boy,
I don't think they would do it, but that'd be interesting.
No, Willie's up there. If anywhere he goes would be kind of a low level cruising on out, I would think.
Georgia Tech.
We'll see. Maybe he ends up taking over Virginia, something like that.
Ooh, I like that. That'd be a good spot for him. All right. Well, one last thing before we move on to some Heisman stuff here, guys. So we put out a video, kind of infamously put out a video a few weeks ago, right before, and we literally put out that video like an hour before the news broke about Michigan's cheating scandal. And we basically said in that video, well, with what we know, with the information that we have, we think this Michigan stuff is sort of hoopla. We thought it was a witch hunt. We were like, yeah, it's whatever. Like a lot of teams probably do this. Michigan's just under a microscope right now.
News drops 1 hour later after we upload. Haha, you guys are stupid.
Yeah, a bunch of Michigan fans, or not Michigan fans, a bunch of Michigan haters disliking the video as soon as it came out because we were like, oh, yeah, it's not a big deal. Well, stuff came out. Connor Stallions, man. I just want to say Connor Stallions, bro, like that. He's the definition of like a diehard, like try hard. Like that's like when the psychopath fan that's like a complete homer that is like will do anything and everything, go above and beyond to do anything for his team. Like that fan, we all know that fan out there that's like that. That's just like a just oblivious homer. And it's like Michigan basically hired that fan and said, "Here, go record tape on these guys." The pictures of him on the sidelines at Central Michigan with the stash and the hat. It's like, dude, like to a certain degree, I'm like, bro, like I respect that, man. Like that's like next level dedication to your team.
I think it's hilarious how here in the last week, Michigan has turned on its head and been like, no, we have proof that Ohio State's doing it too. Now what? Like,
and the fact that Connor Stallions basically took the fall too. He basically said, oh yeah, Jim Harbaugh didn't know about anything. I'm leaving on my own accord. I don't want to be a distraction to the team. Like he basically just fell on the sword and dipped. Like
how
he's
could
the ultimate.
Jim Harbaugh not know about anything? Because that information is being conveyed to them to give them an advantage.
Oh well, everybody knows it's BS. Yeah, of course, everyone knows it's BS.
Way.
But Connor Stallions is so dedicated that he even like basically fell on the sword for Michigan on his way out and said, "Yeah, I'll resign." And
he fell on the sword. He swallowed the sword. Like he did all that.
Dude, he is like that's got to be the most loyal like fan / employee like there could ever be. Like, you know that man like bleeds maize and blue, man. I like it's crazy, but I respect it to a certain extent, man. Like they're trying to steal Central Michigan signs on the sideline. Like you're a psychopath. Central Michigan, you're a psychopath, bro.
I will say what are the chances they were playing Penn State though? I think because I feel like Central Michigan's played Penn State recently, so he might have been there under the guise of a Central
Oh,
Michigan
you're
coach to
right.
steal Penn State's signs.
You're right, actually, because Penn State did play them last year. Okay, that's what he was on the sidelines for. See, I was under the impression that he was just like basically like infiltrating Central Michigan's like the CIA, like trying to steal
No,
their
Michigan
no, I
plays
signs.
mean,
Penn State this week, so we'll see if they change their signs.
and
Oh
I
man.
mean, it was just a haphazard operation. I mean, for for goodness sakes, I mean, using Venmo, using credit cards. I mean, you're filming, just putting your hand up in the air with a phone. It's like this was just so sloppily done, and I'm just very intrigued to see what comes of it because I mean we've seen a lot worse things than sign stealing,
I mean, who do you
but
think's going to
just
win
in the
Coach of the
manner.
Year? Coach of the Year, Dan Lanning, Nick Saban, maybe Kirby
The
Smart. No, I
war,
think Coach of the Year
the
should be
war's going
Connor
to be up there.
Stallions.
Oh yeah.
It should be Connor Stallions, dude. That's the most dedicated. That's the most dedicated coach in all of America, right there. To do what he did and fall on the sword on your way out and basically say, "Oh yeah, it was I did it all on my own," and Jim Harbaugh in Michigan knew nothing about it. Like that's the best coach in the country, right there, man. That's loyalty. That is loyalty. You can't replace that. All right.
No,
Moving on here. So Heisman updates. So every single week now, because this is the kind of year where we don't really know who the hell's going to win the Heisman. It's like the odds are changing week to week here. So I kind of alluded to this earlier. After the LSU Alabama game, despite the loss, I still feel like Jaden Daniels for me is the best player in the country. I think he should be the Heisman frontrunner right now, with Michael
I think it's a
Penix
four-man
closely
race.
behind him. Yeah,
I'll
it's
put Bo Nix in
close.
there too after last week. Bo Nix and then Ollie. I'd say those are like the four.
I agree. I would have Bo Nix as number 3, sliding just behind Penix and Jaden Daniels. What do you think, Gonzo?
yeah, I agree. I still kind of like Ollie as the dark horse. I think I said last week him winning Bedlam was a big deal, and he did have 2 touchdowns in that game. And I understand it's a quarterback war, but I just really think he should get some serious consideration. And it's just tough because like Jaden has numbers, but the team's average and always playing well. And Oak State's trying to come in on the back end, and then you got the Pac-12 guys with Bo and Penix. It's just gonna be really, really interesting. And these next 3 games, I think, will make or break who gets it.
Yeah, so I think like from performance standpoint right now, if it had to be picked today, I think Jaden Daniels would be most deserving. But I think if they picked today, I think the voters would go for either Penix or Nix because they're going to be blinded by the bias of success. That's it. Like the Heisman always goes to like the guy on the team who has the most success, basically.
And what Ollie has against him is that slow start. I mean, they
Hmm.
weren't using him properly till like 3-4 weeks ago.
They would have to, for Ollie to win it, they would have to win out, and he'd have to get at least 100 yards in all 3 of their remaining games, at least.
The top 5 odds right now on DraftKings, you have Michael Penix, number 1, Bo Nix, number 2, JJ McCarthy, Jordan Travis, and then Carson Beck at number 5.
McCarthy being on that list is an absolute joke.
That's hard
Have
for
you looked
me.
at his
Well,
stats? Like his stats don't even sniff everyone else's. Like it's
I agree, but I think that's also under the guise of like, hey, once Michigan finally does play Penn State and Ohio State, and if he looks good and plays good, then like he could theoretically shoot up the board.
I think the sports books just hung that one out there because they're like, oh man, Michigan's got a big fan base. We can just get a lot of free money on this.
Well,
yeah, I
true.
think that's partially it because I really see McCarthy, and if I'm wrong, I'll get flamed for it. But I see him as like a better version of like McCarron. He's got all this talent around him, and he doesn't have to do too much. I mean, I think he's still an awesome player, but I just don't think. I think if you had Cade McNamara calling the shots, I still think Michigan be undefeated. Oregon slash Washington would not be in this situation without their quarterbacks, in my opinion.
Michigan has just played nobody, so it'll be interesting to see what they do against Penn State. That's really it. I mean, Michigan plays 2 real games all year. They have 10 bye weeks, 11 if you count the actual bye week. So we'll see, man. We'll see what Michigan looks like this weekend. It's put up or shut up time for Michigan.
I mean, I think McCarthy's legitimately good. I don't think he's the best quarterback, but I think he's probably top 10.
I
He's
wouldn't
probably
call
low.
it.
I'd say lower.
That's
end
fair.
I
top
think
10.
I think McCarthy is like maybe slightly above average. I wouldn't really put him as good, great, or elite by any stretch of the imagination.
Well,
He hasn't been put in a situation that's like truly stressful or forced him to like actually like have to go win a game.
Zan beat me to it. Yep.
Yeah, his team's always up by 40 points because they play like Northwest Community College. So I mean, like, there's just no test. So we'll see how he plays against Penn State. I really want to see what McCarthy does if they're down late in a game. That is what will be a true indicator. Because McCarthy, him being in there is a joke because he has never had a Heisman moment. All his stats come from being up by a ton of points.
Yeah, well,
Heisman moment is like what Caleb Williams does, coming back in the fourth quarter and sealing the game. Like, things like that. Caleb Williams did it earlier this year.
well, if he balls out against Penn State and Ohio State, then be ready for it because those are two like legit defenses.
Yeah,
those are two
absolutely.
top 5 defenses. So if he balls out against them, then he may have swayed me. But I guess
I don't
we'll
know about him balling out. He might throw 2 touchdowns, but I don't think he'll have maybe 200 yards passing. I don't know.
I just want to know where the Shadur Sanders love is. I mean, 3.
Hey, didn't I tell you, Carson? Listen, quietly, Carson Beck slide in there at number 5 plus 12-1 odds right now. Didn't I tell you guys he was 30-1 the other week? I was telling you guys if I fly Carson Beck flyer right now, because like Georgia might be the only team that finishes the year undefeated. Like, he's putting up good stats, man. Like, he's not elite by any. He's great. He's not elite, but he's putting up good stats. And like I was telling you guys, if Bo Nix and all these and Michael Penix, Jordan Travis, if all these guys choke in the playoffs or lose or just have bad games, like Carson Beck is like sitting there just like, hey, might cruise my way to a Heisman here.
Certainly a possibility, albeit I don't think it's likely, but no, I mean, like, I do see it just because of the argument of team success. And he hasn't played bad either.
No, he's playing.
I think he deserves it more than McCarthy does. I'll say that much.
Yeah, because he's actually had to play good teams. And I completely agree. But it's an interesting conversation. And really quick, Jordan Travis should deserve some love too. But I think Jordan Travis is he's like that, should be on the list, but also I think like he's got a ceiling, you know what I mean? Like, good college player. I mean,
we'll see. Be interesting.
It will. I'm actually legitimately interested in the Heisman this year, which normally I don't really care much about the Heisman.
Yeah, I'll actually probably watch the ceremony this year. I usually don't watch it because I know who won it. So
we ready to wrap this up? But no, we have to talk about playoff scenarios here on the dock. But do you guys have any playoff scenarios in your mind? Something that really interested you or something that sticks out to you? Like, hey, wait a minute. What if this happens?
Most of the only thing for me is the conundrum of what if Washington gets through Pac-12 play unscathed, Oregon beats them in the Pac-12 championship. Both are 1-loss teams. And then you have Texas. Say Texas wins the Big 12. They're a 1-loss team. Say Alabama beats Georgia, and then Alabama and Georgia are both 1-loss. Someone's not going to get in. Who doesn't get in? Oh, and then Ohio State and Michigan. One of them's not going to get in either. And one of them might be 1 loss. So we'll have like legitimately 6 teams here. So there's really some controversy that could come out of this.
I think there you just got to pull the strength of schedule. I hate that. I mean,
yeah,
but like Texas beating Alabama and Tuscaloosa has to mean something.
Like that would put Texas in over them for sure. But then if Alabama has the win over Georgia, does that push Georgia out? Because that would be Georgia's first loss of the season.
You make my brain break right here, man.
You know what I mean? So I'm curious how the committee would do that. This is one, like, if something happened like that, it would be pandemonium. Because no matter what, someone who legitimately deserves to be in the playoffs is going to get screwed.
Mm-hmm. Either way.
That's the nightmare scenario for the committee right now. Like, they are dreading that actually happening.
There's legitimately 6 teams right now who like have a good argument for it, and I think are deserving.
When was since I'm trying to think, the first year we had the 14 playoff, we had that controversy with like the Big 12 naming co-champions, TCU and Baylor not getting in. Outside of that, I can't remember, like, has there legitimately been like a very legitimate like outcry from fans that a team got like egregiously screwed over for getting into the playoff? Because I don't think there has been.
Not from anyone's
playoff era.
From their own fan base, yes. From outside fan bases, no.
Right.
But this is the first year where we could see that. And that's why I'm bringing that up, because we legitimately, I think there's going to be at least one team 2 is the worst case scenario, but at least one team that's going to be left on the outside looking in that probably deserves to be playing in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. That's my point. Is I think 2011, obviously, we all know 2011 with Oklahoma State. That was big. That basically gave us the 14 playoff. 2014, sort of. I don't think it was as controversial. I think it was more the Big 12, really just the Big 12 shooting themselves in the foot. But since that, I don't think there's been like a team legitimately got screwed over.
This could be the year, man.
It might happen.
This is like the biggest parity we have seen in a long time in college football, and that's why I think there's a big danger of that this year.
What do you think, Gonzo?
Oh, I just think, and I remember the nuance, but I remember Penn State won the Big Ten, and they finished at 5, and that might have been the year Washington went as 4.
2015. Yep.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State, it definitely was Michigan. So Ohio State was able to weep back in there. That's the year Ohio State won it. Maybe. No, that's incorrect because they won with the backup and beat the tar out of everyone. So maybe it was 2016 or something.
Bama beat Clemson that year. But yes, I remember Penn State was a 2-loss team, but they had beaten Ohio State head-to-head, and they won the Big Ten.
That was it. Yep.
But Ohio State only had 1 loss.
Yes.
Penn State had 2 losses. Ohio State had 1, but Penn State beat Ohio State head-to-head and thus went to the Big Ten championship game and won the Big Ten. But they still put in Ohio State. So
that's a travesty. That's ridiculous.
But I don't remember that. I don't remember there being like a huge outcry of like Penn State got royally screwed. I don't remember there being that back then.
Yeah. Penn State's fans probably felt that way, but
of course, I'm saying like national perception.
And then, I mean, I'm just saying this just really to tote like stuff I remember. This isn't a legitimate point, I guess, but I mean, A&M went 9-1, didn't make the playoff in the COVID year, but that's a COVID year, so like nothing counts in my mind.
That we just talked about that, man. That was the Kellen Mond team. Like we did that. That was the first year Zan and I did the podcast. That was our inaugural year of the Zan and Shoot podcast. Texas A&M, despite what Aggie fans say, that team was just not. It was good. It just wasn't great. It wasn't elite.
I agree.
But enough said. All right, boys. Well, that's going to wrap up our week 10 recap. A lot to talk about here. I think this time we still went, an hour, 37 minutes, give or take. So we went good on time as per usual, but a lot to talk about, definitely later in the year, especially. So some good stuff. Thank you guys for listening. If you're one of those people that likes to listen to the full pod or watch it on YouTube, we appreciate it. So for those of you out there listening, Saturday Scholars, we're signing out. See y'all later. This is Zan, Gonzo, and Chew. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and enjoy your college football Saturday.